Are you going to watch the House proceedings tomorrow?
I'm not watching. I've not seen it. Look, it's a hoax. The whole impeachment thing is a hoax. We look forward to getting onto the Senate. We're not entitled to lawyers. We're not entitled to witnesses. We're not entitled to anything in the House. It's a total sham.
The president blasting Democrats on the eve of his expected impeachment. Just hours ago, he sent a letter to House Leader Nancy Pelosi accusing her of, quote, declaring open war on American democracy. Meanwhile, Trump readies his party for whatever's coming next.
I've never seen the Republican Party so united. I believe the Senate is equally as well united. I watched Mitch McConnell this morning. I watched numerous people last night, senators, and I think we're equally well united. They know it's a hoax, it's a witch hunt.
So if they know all that, then what does it mean for next steps? Should Leader Mitch McConnell be taking this to trial in the Senate? Joining me right now is Texas Republican Congressman and House Judiciary Committee member Louie Gohmert. It's good to see you, sir.
It's great to see you, Trish. Thanks for having me on.
So what happens next? Because, you know, I got to say, I actually would like to see something fair. That was a circus. That was a charade, what we saw in Congress. Maybe there's a shot at actually a real trial with some fairness in the Senate. What should happen?
Trish, you would be a good judge. That's exactly what I think. And look, I know if I were in the Senate, I would be thinking this is a sham. And just like the president said, there was no fairness in the House. There was no due process. There was no rights at all afforded to the accused, the president. It's a sham. And so let's just bring it up and dismiss it. But the trouble is that people have not heard from fact witnesses, and we know from polls that there's at least 40% or so that think the president probably should be impeached. And I'm afraid if the Senate just picks it up and has a 51 vote to dismiss it, and yes, motions to dismiss could be in order, that there will be that same 40-45% that will say, so the Republicans are covering up for the president. But if we bring witnesses in and you make clear in the rules the senators agree to that we are not going to have a bunch of hearsay evidence, that just like with treason, you've got to have 2 direct evidence witnesses, and this is serious enough, that's what's going to be required, and you go bring people like Alexandra Chalupa, Sean Misko.
Who, by the way, was, just to remind people, Alexandra Chalupa was working as a sort of liaison between the Ukraine embassy and the DNC on behalf of Hillary Clinton.
And so Misko went to work for Adam Schiff the day after the call on July 26th, and Abigail Grace was working for Schiff and Eric Ciaramella. Those are fact witnesses. And the 4 of them, and they would be critical, and that would get us to the very bottom of all of the corruption that involved Ukraine and potentially our U.S. Embassy personnel, NSC, and this whole effort to go get Trump after the first fell flat through the Mueller report.
You know,
but you're
I
exactly
think Americans
right.
deserve it, right? Because to your point, Congressman, too many people would say, you know, it was just political. It was just political. The Democrats in the House did one thing. The Republicans in the Senate did another. And it's like, no, wait a second. I think Americans deserve to know what the heck happened. And by bringing that all to light, you're doing the country a service. I mean, frankly, I look at this and I feel like I'm in some kind of banana republic sometimes, right? I mean, what the heck is going on? You don't trust the transition of power.
Yep, they didn't, and they haven't, and they want to get rid of the transition of power. But the trouble is we don't have enough Americans that watch you to know what's going on, and they need to know there are witnesses that not only do not convict President Trump of any high crimes or misdemeanors, but that actually the only convictable people were the Democrats that did hire, well, the Hillary Clinton campaign, the DNC, they hired a foreigner to intervene in our election named Christopher Steele, and then he talked to Russians, maybe Ukrainians. We know he got Italy involved. We know he got Australia involved. So they're accusing the president of doing what they did and that the president did not do.
Right.
And there is
and this is
nothing
the
abusive.
point that he's making,
Yeah.
right, in this letter, calling it
Yeah,
a war
exactly,
on
a great
American
letter.
democracy. Do you think that the term is appropriate? Is this a war on American democracy?
It is a war on the current president and the current Republican Party. It absolutely is.
Is it a war,
And you
though, on
can't
our
have a
system of
Democrat-
government?
Yeah. You can't have a democratic republic like we have if you are going to allow one party to go to war with another.
Yeah. Let me
that's
ask
a
you
problem.
about this, Maxine Waters, because
Yeah.
she's certainly been a very big critic, but my gosh, I mean, she admits herself that she doesn't have the facts to back
Yeah.
up her conspiracy theories. I want the viewer to see this, and I want your reaction. Here we go.
I believe, even though I don't have the facts to prove it, I believe that Putin wanted to lift the sanctions. He's always wanted to lift these sanctions that were placed on him because of his interfering with and incursion into Crimea. And so I believe that they wanted to elect President Trump. And Trump, I believe, agreed, I will always believe this, that he agreed that if he got elected, he would lift those sanctions.
Yeah, she wasn't challenged. She doesn't know her facts. She admits she doesn't know her facts.
Yeah.
I mean, what are we dealing in? Conspiracy theory.
Well, that's exactly what it is. And as far as lifting sanctions, the party that lifted the sanctions against Russia was called Obama and Secretary Hillary Clinton. And she rushed over to Russia and in effect said, we know the Bush administration overreacted when you went into Georgia and they put up sanctions and stuff. We're wiping the slate clean, no sanctions. We got a reset button. And all Putin heard is, wow, they don't mind if I invade Crimea and Ukraine. That was a green light to him, and now they blame Trump for this. He stood up. He gave weapons to the Ukrainians that Obama wouldn't give. So anyway, it is, again, it's called projecting. Mm-hmm. They engage in inappropriate conduct, and then they accuse us of doing just what they did and we didn't do.
I'm with you on that. Just air all the dirty laundry. Go to trial and
let's hear it.
See what's what.
You bet.
Congressman
You bet.
Gohmert, good to see you tonight. Thank you. All right.